Hi, and welcome to episode 2 of our live IG series, Earth Hearts Artist Talk. And I hope you guys are doing good. This live series features 4 wonderful artists from our next virtual exhibit, Piece Together, which is going to open on November 2nd. So stay tuned for more details. And today we are so excited to invite another wonderful artist from the same exhibit, Mary Southall. She's a well-known artist from Hunters Point Shipyard, San Francisco, and she has a wonderful career span of over 25 years by now. So let's see if we can get her online right away with us. Give me a second.
Yeah, perfect. So now we can see everything in your studio and you. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me today. I'm excited.
No way, it's a pure pleasure to have you because you have been such a wonderful friend to think around, and you are an amazing artist, and we want our viewers to know about your story and want to see your beautiful artworks, So without further delay, let us know about your background, about your artistic career, and how did you think of becoming an artist?
Well, I think I always wanted to be an artist. I was a little. I am originally from Texas. I grew up in Southall, Texas, and was fortunate enough to spend a lot of time out in the country. My father was a farm rancher, and so I had a lot of wide open space and really fueled my imagination. My mother is also a technical draftsman by trade, so I had that artistic background from her family. It's just something I always wanted to do. I kind of lost touch with it, when I got into high school and got more into drama and that scene. And then when I went to college, I went in computer science major. Little did I know how difficult that would be, and I also took art classes. And so after one semester, I switched to fine art and started from there. So I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree from Texas State. And there I moved to Austin, Texas. And I knew I needed to be a part of an art community. So I found a group of artists that were running a cooperative gallery, and they invited me to join them. They were a little bit older than me, so it was still a great opportunity. I was studio director and the gallery director, and then I was able to have a studio. So I did that for a couple of years, and then a friend and I started our own cooperative studio and gallery space before I moved to San Francisco. And then when I moved to San Francisco, I wanted to continue with that, community, and I was fortunate enough to find Hunters Point Yard and studio space out here back in 1990. So, that's where I met all these great artists that I'm in the show with, that I out. Relationship with Heidi Harden, and started, working on the whole program.
Okay. Mary, just to think that I'm getting a little bit glitches in between you talking. So is it something that you're a little away from it? Or I couldn't hear you clearly a little bit.
Apps, is that better?
Yeah, it's better. It's better.
Here too. Okay.
Yeah, it just went out and came in. For a while. No worries, no problem. Okay. So I love this thing that you always wanted to be an artist, and it's like the one thing you want to do for your whole life, and then it's like a dream coming true. So I'm really happy for you.
Well, I once I made the decision to do fine art, I just decided I would find a way to support myself and have the time to do it. So I tabled for years. I was in the restaurant business for years, the way to support it, and then started teaching. Was able to make income along with sales of my work. So I never really had another profession, to support this as well. I kind of integrated it as best I could to make it work.
Yeah, it's like putting all your energy into one thing and then master it. Yeah, that's amazing. I love it. Well, so great to know about that. Mary, I know that you have a connection with Think Round, which goes way back. And I think Hunters Point Shipyard played a major role in it. So would you want to tell us about that?
So, yeah, like I said, the first studio space I had at the shipyard was back in 1990. And time the Shipyard Trust for the Arts, the nonprofit organization out here, was developing, and we were trying to really have a connection with the Bayview Hunters Point neighborhood. So before the Children's Mural program, there was a group of us that worked doing murals in the Bayview neighborhood with local artists from the shipyard, and then also artists that lived in the Bayview. So I did that, and then, that later went on to work with Heidi in the Children's Mural program.
Yeah.
Preschools in the Bayview.
Yeah.
So, and then, of course, I always participated in Shipyard Trust. I mean, the Shipyard Open Studios, that were twice a year.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, Children's Mural Program, I know a lot about that because I have talked to Heidi about that a lot, and we have worked on it. So I know that this is one special connection between you and other three, other three artists for this exhibition piece together, right?
That's true. I think that was one thing they wanted to do, is bring, the shipyard artists together for the show. I was excited to be asked. I don't really consider myself a collage artist, although I do collage, but I'm probably, maybe within the show, using the most mixed media. However, for this show, I really tried to, these bigger pieces you see behind me, I really consider them collages, and did those, for the show. So, yeah.
Yes. Well, when you're talking about your artwork, so, as I'm building up your gallery for this, our virtual exhibit, it's just a color combination of everything. It's just so soothing, and it's just so bright, like San Francisco right now. It's like, it's just so, it freshens up your mood when you go into the gallery. So I really like your viewpoint on using the color contrasts which you do in your artworks. I really love that. Yeah.
Thank you. Well, it's funny. I just had a conversation with my sister yesterday, and we were talking about where we grew up and the light, and it was so bright there. And I realized, like, my palette is really reflected from where I grew up, and like having all this light around me, and why the color choices that I use really reflect my childhood. So I think that comes across.
Yeah, well, I can see all that reflection on your artwork, definitely, and they are absolutely beautiful. So, Mary, would you like to give us a little tour, if you can, about your artworks which you're going to show in our exhibit?
Should I take the camera with me, or just do that from here?
You can do anything you want. If you think that you're comfortable with taking off the phone and showing the artworks, real close, then that would be great too.
Okay. Well, I think, like for this show, I really wanted to focus on their mixed media. I usually say I have mixed media paintings or mixed media collage. So on this, I was really trying to focus more on the mixed media collage. I'm going to so I started with these in 2019, and I call this my snippet series. And the idea was that there's little slivers of information, little bits of information, and as you go around the wheel, you're getting a little bit of a story. So the narrative is always the most important thing for me. I want to tell that story, but lately I've been trying to abstract it and allow the viewer to bring more to the piece and figure that out. So especially in these new pieces, I'm doing that. I'm going to try to go up.
Sure.
So within these pieces, and these are, again, the ones with the little squares are more collage than the ones with the stripes. But within that, there is a story. And so I want each viewer to kind of decipher that for themselves. These pieces During COVID, since we were so limited, by resources, that we could get, I had these vintage postcards that belonged to my mother.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wanted to incorporate those into the work. And it was really the idea of the sense of relationship to the past, the idea of traveling, mm-hmm. and then we're remembering, looking back on summers and places that we used to go and places we used to, were allowed to be. So that this series is based on the vintage postcards. And then mm-hmm. I also did a smaller series of those. Mm-hmm. And larger wheels, these are kind of, here's one, let's see. Again, the idea of telling a story within a round wheel. Mm-hmm. These are all based on the idea of short travels. They're all historic women figures, and they're all about a short stay or travels. I'm calling it my Sojourn series.
Uh-huh.
So I'll have 3 of those pieces in the show. And those are 48 by 48, so they're pretty big. Mm-hmm. And they're round.
Mm-hmm. But I really love the idea of, having these round artworks wherein everything is just pointing at the same point in the center of the artwork. And it just shows that everything is connected. At the same time, they are different from each other. So that's the beauty of the round artworks.
Well, thank you. Well, when Kim was speaking, she was working in this kind of oval spiral, and it's interesting that we're kind of doing similar imagery, telling a story within this kind of wheel, but in a different way. Mm-hmm. I found that interesting.
Yes, yeah. Well, every artist, that's what I think I said in the Kim's interview also. Every artist is unique. Every artist has a unique story behind every artwork they make. So it's like, it's always very interesting to know what was your mindset when you were making that particular artwork. And, it always changing. It depends on how you grew up, what you wanted to do at that time, and how did your childhood go. All these things reflect on what we are today. So, yeah, it's so beautiful.
Thank you. Well, I hope
Great.
To the viewer that they do find that narrative, they find that story vibrant for themselves. Mm-hmm. I think for figures that, it's maybe a little bit more spelled out, but again, it's because it's in this kind of snippet form, that people can discover that story on their own.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that is the best part of, being a visitor or being a admirer of an artwork, that I can build up my own, I can see my own reflection in what you did, and I can make my own story about that. And that makes all the artworks relative to everybody who sees the artwork. So it's so amazing. I love it. I always love talking to artists and knowing their story behind it, because it just gives me so much inspiration to listen to yourself and to your instinct and just go ahead and do it. And, the artists are very lucky in that way, because their profession is pouring out their instincts into their profession. So I think you're very lucky to being an artist. And I just love talking to you.
Well, thank you. And thank you for including me in the show. I'm really excited to be in the People mm-hmm. Together collage show at Think Brown.
We are happy to have you. And for our viewers, Mary Southall is featured as Artist of the Week on our social media profiles. So if you haven't seen it, after this live interview, you can go and check out our posts. We have posted some of the very wonderful and beautiful artworks of Mary Southall on our FB page, Think Round Inc., and on this Instagram account. So go check it out. Okay, Mary, thank you for your time today, and hope we'll be in touch, and have a nice day.
Thank you, Richa. Bye-bye.
Bye.